computer. Hello and welcome to my channel, From Fertility to Delivery. I have the exquisite pleasure of having Christopher and Amanda, or Mandy Macklin, on with us today. Welcome.
Yay, thanks for having us. Bless you, Dayna.
Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be talking a lot today about fertility, infertility, the whole gamut, but I did want to formally introduce both of my guests today. So I'm just going to read their bio, and then we're going to get into some wonderful Q&A. So Christopher Macklin was born in Chester in the UK and has been very gifted from an early age. For the last several years, he's concentrated on divine healing, learning from divine knowledge from God and all that is holy. His healing technique is a unique approach combining God's angelic light beings and also clearing negative energies and entities. Christopher has worked with divine healing for 30 years. He is a Melchizedek being who has volunteered to come down to earth to teach and heal from the ultimate dimension. Christopher has helped people recover from all types of illnesses. Some of these include autoimmune disease, cancer, Morgellons disease, herpes virus, arthritis, and HIV/AIDS. And Christopher also treats emotional disorders, including addictions, chronic depression, schizophrenia, and bipolar disorder, which not a lot of folks can say that they can help treat that. And now Amanda Macklin started having spiritual experiences at age 16. She found a deep passion for music, and her vocals offer healing to all who listen to her inspirational music. The greatest gift that Source has given her is the ability to access her bodies, her other bodies and dimensional experiences in the universe. She is ultimately devoted to the sovereignty of humanity and the realization of the highest potential of this magnificent species in this vast universe through the transformation of the emotional body and the integration of that body with the higher self. So Christopher and his lovely wife, Mandy, created the Global Enlightenment Project and are here to help heal the world with their divinely guided gifts. Welcome, Christopher and Mandy.
Thanks, Dayna. Bless you. It's
wonderful
to
be with you. Yes.
Yes, so nice to be here. And this is something ever since I had my first healing from the healings that are on YouTube now. And it was very quick for me to dive deep into the healing, because I had just finished having these beautiful natural births with two sons, and I was really in my body, and I was practicing hypnobirthing. So for me, I was grounded. I was walking on Mother Earth barefoot every day, and I think that's what really helped to tap into that. I just remember taking a nap, listening to the healing, and then being woken up a little bit just to feel the clearing of my head center. And you say it feels like butterflies, and it basically felt like that. It was amazing.
And also having just given birth as well.
Yes.
What you were in such a state of reception as in that motherhood, and that's beautiful.
Yes.
That'll really help you feel things deeper too.
Absolutely. Some books call it the birth shaman, and I would agree with that. Yeah. Very
it's true.
My chakras were aligned. My Kundalini energy was right on point.
It's magical.
Yes. So the first question I really wanted to start off with, more of a general question, is what are the spirit babies, souls, light bodies, star seeds? It's all pretty much the same thing. What are they coming? What are they coming into Earth saying? What are you picking up from them, and what do they want their future moms and dads to know?
Yeah. I know I've been picking up on some things, but yeah.
Go on, you go first.
I'll go first. Okay. Many of them are coming, and the world in which they are to inhabit or to really be adult in is going to look so much different than this one, that I feel like they're really calling for a level of patience and go with the flow a little bit more. They're just kind of like, hey, it's not here yet, but we're here, let's please just cut us a little bit of slack here, because this is nuts for us. I think a lot of the, what you call crystal children or the star children, there's so many coming in, of course, right now, and they know that they're coming at this time. And so I think that there's this lapse, there's this time frame in which the world has to shift a lot more for their purpose to be fulfilled here. And I just feel like they're like, hey, a little bit of extra patience and a little bit go with the flow. And it might not look like what it should look like, how I develop, you know?
And of course, they're volunteers, you know. I mean,
they are, yeah.
I always laugh that, you know, you're coming out the vaginal opening and, you know, you come out, the IRS is in the corner. Welcome to Mother Earth. Here's your invoice, you know. And you know, I hear so many people. Well, there's a few things really. One is that, you know, the kids don't fit in. You know, what do I do with my child? They don't fit in. Well, don't even let them try, because they're never going to fit in a low density third dimensional world, because
these structures aren't going to fit them at all.
Yeah. So I always encourage people, keep them out. You know, it's like school. You know, to me, school teachers like blah blah blah. You know, and you know, yes, you need to learn to read and write, but you don't need that. You know, half the things at school. You know, life skills as well are important. So
there's many parents pulling their children.
Yeah, keeping them homeschooled and don't get them, you know, indoctrinated in anything, you know, because they're special.
Or if you have to, you make sure that, you know, if your children are in school, the young children, make sure that you ask them everything about that day. Like, what did this person teach you today? What did you hear today? And really converse about it and make sure that you're really on top of what they ingested when they were there, so that you can get them to start questioning things really, you know, early on, and being like, well, don't believe everything you're told. Like, the teacher told me this, it must be true. No, that's not necessarily true. And so to really start teaching them really young, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and holding the space, I think, for them as well. You know, I mean, I remember when I was 4.
That was a big general question that we just went off onto tangents. Didn't we?
Okay. Okay. Well, you know, I remember seeing a reptilian at the age of 4. Dad, there's a reptilian. You know, and at that time, I realized you couldn't see things, and you know, craft in the sky and all these things. But I think if your children are seeing them, you've got to encourage them and allow them to talk about it, hold the space, and spend time with them. You know, it's really important, so they don't think they're just nuts. You know, I think that's a really important thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, both my younger sons, they both woke up from the nighttime and said he saw something. I said, what color is it? He said it was blue. And then the younger one, he was looking in the kitchen area and he's like, I see something. I'm like, what color is it? And he said blue too. And I found out later on, I asked a question to Honey C. Golden, and she connected to Lemurian essence. And they both have a lot of Pisces in their charts, so completely Lemurian. And I knew it wasn't bad. So ask the questions, just like you said. Just don't brush it off. Really dig deep. If there is something about it, they're going to give you specifics.
They will, absolutely.
I think there's another thing as well that is important, is that, you know, like 2-year-olds, they're high anxiety and think, you know, people say, well, they've only been on the planet 2 years. Why have they got so much anxiety? And the answer is that, you know, when you fertilize the egg, you know, in the womb, it becomes a fetus. Just reminding everyone, you need a womb to fertilize the egg. I'm just saying. But anyways, you fertilize the egg, becomes a fetus. You've got 3 months to get the soul in. So because the 3rd and the 5th dimensions is so close, then when the soul comes through, it's not blocking out all the past life stuff, because of course it's better if you don't have all the past life stuff, and then you can just focus on this lifetime and have a learning experience. But if all that emotion from past lives and cellular memory of things that have happened to your body come through the veil and bond into the fetus, it's going to transfer into the body, and the emotion transfers the heart chakra. That's why, you know, 2-year-olds like, why is she so anxiety?
Especially
it's all the past life stuff. Yeah,
especially lately, because, you know, in the last few years, it's been, they're pulling in a lot more heavy things, because our souls or these new souls are coming in, and because we're shifting into this more 4th dimensional awareness, because we're getting into our subconscious layers, we're starting to understand our dreams better, we're starting to work with those things as a species, I feel, and especially young ones. But they're cleaning up more than we ever have. Like my generation, his generation, they're already coming in, starting to clean up that dumping ground of emotion that we haven't processed as a species. And I think that they're also feeling that as well. It's a lot.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. So we kind of touched on it with listening and homeschooling, but what advice would you give future parents on how to help the star seeds coming into the planet?
I think my personal opinion is you need to find out what their passion is. Again, if you
Yeah.
try and drive them in a schooling system that they don't fit in, yes, reading and writing is useful. Of course it is, basic skills. But to me, I think, it's important to see what their passion is. Maybe they like gardening, maybe they like cooking, maybe they like
And you might have to try
anything,
20 different things because they won't light up, yet. Like they'll be like, okay, well, I like it and I'm good at it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's their passion. And so you just keep exposing them to the many different things and allow them the time. If they get really excited about math or something for a little bit, okay, yeah. Or if they get really excited about gardening, let them dig into it and allow them the time to cultivate and see if it's their direction.
But it's giving people time to find that absolute passion. I mean, I love doing what I do, and I spent 21 years in
doing what you love.
Corporate, blah blah blah. Let's call it blah blah blah. It's kind of, and it's just like, I used to be earning piles of money, looking at these people in these corporations, going, is this it? Is this the best
really
we can
life?
do?
Yeah,
this is really life. I'm just getting a paycheck, not enjoying it, and now I love what I do. It's a way of life. So I really think it's important to try and find out what your kids will be really happy doing as a way of life. And it's not about the money, where love flows, money goes. Because people say, well, when they're older, they can't do chefing's not that good, or
that
they're not
whole
going to make
world
it with painting.
is dismantling, though. It's falling apart. Yeah.
People are making it with amazing paintings, I mean, healing is painting. If you paint a beautiful picture and it creates the energy within it, you look at the picture, wow, that's amazing. And the joy it gives you, same with food. If you've got a passion, you put love in your food. Our food tastes good. I'm not a chef, but we put a lot of love into it and we prepare it carefully.
We do. It's amazing. Even you can even feel like almost the vibration of a music that you're listening to. Like when you're making something, you can feel it being put into the process as well. It's just amazing. So yeah, I think overall, just allowing them to have that time to look in all these different directions and really just dive into whatever they're like, oh, I like this. And then 5 weeks later, they're like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do this, and let them do it and just walk along with them and let them do it. That's really important.
I think another problem we're seeing as well is this like indoctrination where they have to be doing something like dance one night and something the next.
So much. It's overwhelming. There's too much.
That's going to exhaust anyone. Why don't you just focus on maybe one thing or two things? You don't have to do everything. And I think kids get overloaded on a hamster wheel. I've got to be busy. And they're being indoctrinated into a life of of busy for the sake of being busy.
It is.
Then,
it's true.
And once you learn that you need to jump off the hamster wheel and run away from it, and just step back and say, let's enjoy life. Enjoy life with the kids as well. It's amazing.
That is so important. So my next question, I know that you work very closely with Mother Mary, and she is non-denominational. So how can she help women and couples that are starting a family? What type of advice do you think she would give?
Oh, gracious. She's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Sorry, every time her energy is just, she's like right here all the time. We're always.
Yeah, but I was going to roast her. Every time I
but
thought
she's really supportive of
me. She says,
me.
well, you haven't done your hair. Oh, okay.
You need to clean
like
up.
A mother. For heaven's sake, you're loving to everyone else, and I get a roasting.
She does. She's really amazing.
She
is extremely motherly. That's why I wouldn't want to take away that Mother Mary name, because she could be other names, because she's so vast. But that's just that nurturing energy that what would she say to parents that are, what would she express to them?
I think she'd just talk about love,
just her presence, having them close,
having a presence in your kid's life, not getting on the hamster wheel where everyone has to work and you put your kids in some sort of facility, whatever. I think it's interesting because if I may take a reference to the Amish people are building our house, and their community of their families is just off the charts. Now, would I like to live without electric? Now, let me see. Probably not. And I need a computer, and I need a car. But you don't need it. But it makes life a lot easier.
Watching the children,
incredible.
Watching the children in 3 different families. There were how many children? 27, 28 children, all different ages, and they were all just taking care of each other. The unconditional love between them was just so beautiful. It was so profound. And Mother Mary is unconditional love. And I think that's what she would help bring if you just call upon her energy, especially as new parents, or you're, bringing that, you're going to feel unconditional love anyway for your child. It just,
But that community, and they all honor each other, I think it's, yeah.
But yeah, she just, her presence and calling upon her, just to bring her presence, is you automatically feel it. And it's so supportive and nurturing.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, nurturing. You got to nurture kids, and you got to give them encouragement all the time.
You have to nurture each other as well.
And each other as well. Yeah, you got to spend time with each other so that you don't lose your identity,
Right.
I think, sometimes you have to have date night, like, well, do it once a week. Like, you guys go out and kids could get looked after, but you need date night, you need fun, and then you need to go out with the kids and have some fun, so.
That's so true. Yeah, no, that's really good. And yeah, when her presence is around, it feels nurturing, and just a reminder to nurture ourselves, just like you said. And if you can't be a mother or father to yourself, how do you expect to be that for someone else? So
exactly,
yeah.
Beautiful. Very nice. So as you know, we are in a purging state in the Great Awakening right now. And actually, yeah. And you have stated in the past that the Akashic records, they were created by the Melchizedek being. So can you talk a little bit about the Akashic records and why they were created?
Well, the main reason, the Akashic records, Prime Creator creates all the third dimensional world, everything else, God, and whatever you want to call God. But it was realized that one day, down here in the third dimensional world, they would design kind of time machines. And so the Akashic record, of course, is a record of your whole life since your soul was first created, and they go back, to your dot when, if you've got an old soul, it can be millions and millions of years. And you can have all the lifetimes on the planets, of course, as well. So the Akashic records, you've got ultimate infinite timelines in front of you. But the timeline you've been on, of course, is a record of what you've done. Now, they knew that the time machine would go back on that timeline and be able to go back in time. Now, that could cause a lot of problems with this time-space continuum. If, for example, and I would give the example like Hitler, if you went back to 1936 and someone says, well, take him out, you can't. Well, why is that? Because you're looking over at his timeline, which has already happened. So you can't alter that timeline from your timeline, which means that it's basically created a safety net.
It's a safety mechanism.
A safety mechanism to stop anyone from changing
from being able to manipulate
and altering the whole. If you imagine you alter one thing in history, it blows the whole thing out of the waters. That maintains the time space that we are today. But of course, in the future, you can go on any timelines. You can say, well, today I'm going to be a hairdresser. So, you jump. I believe we all have divine timelines where we've got gifts. And we know if you pursue your gift, you're on a divine timeline, you get blessed every day. But if you go off that and say, well, yeah, I'm not that good at cutting hair, but I'll have a go. So I could go off the divine timeline. Or maybe I want to go to jail. So I'll go and rob a bank or do some daft thing. And you're in jail.
And that's on an individual. That's on an individual basis. And it is also created to, the paradox of the fact that the collective timeline and our individual timelines are also connected. So it's created also to keep that in a balance as well, and to, like he said, to keep a safety net on it so that people can't manipulate each other's in a negative way. So yeah, it's all ultimately up to the higher self, and that's why when he does work with the Akashic records in our protocol that we created, it's always up to the higher self of the individual. So if that person doesn't want to have that happen, they won't receive the healing. It won't actually happen. Their timeline will not split, and it won't go down. So,
well, it'll split, but then you go.
But it's actually happening in them. But it's there. But it's all ultimately up to him. He is just the conductor and the provider of the opportunity for the energy to happen, and that's why it's not that he's actually splitting the timeline or that we're actually splitting their timelines. It's that the higher self of that person is getting the energy support necessary to carve that out and go through that process. And it's a beautiful thing.
Another interesting thing about
I love the Akashic records. We love them.
Well, we love them. But if you go in a past timeline, like the timeline you've been on, and say something really bad happened, whatever it is. We've all had stuff happen in our life, And my belief is that the biggest things that happen are the best for growth if you really take them on board and process it. But one of the things I talk about is wisdom beyond forgiveness. Going back in a timeline, whatever happened, running through the video and then getting that person in your face and sending them unconditional love and thanking them actually for the participation in your journey, because it's made you into the amazing person. And people often say, well, how could you say that when someone's been raped or someone's been whatever's happened?
Well, you
and the answer
you
is
can do deep work with that.
You can do really deep work, and it's always a gift in the end. It might not seem like it at the time, of course, but later on when you've processed it, it makes you really strong, and you can help.
Well, because you're actually taking back a fragment of yourself that you left in that moment because you were shattered somehow by the trauma of the experience. And it's important to go back and and the only way to do that really is to forgive that moment and forgive that person. And yeah, again, it's all about I think we're noticing nowadays that people are reporting timelines are converging all over the place. They're like, oh, well, I saw you you were just at the store. No, I wasn't. I was at home. No, I just saw you like 5 seconds ago. No, I wasn't there. Or there's things like people, you say choice points. Have you ever heard of choice points where you're like, oh, I know I should have died like literally 5 seconds ago in that car wreck that just happened. Well, it didn't happen. So, all the time, we're always having these options, and there's just an endless, infinite number of checkout options and just timelines that you walk on. And it's just amazing. I think we're starting to see that there's so many collective coming together in this timeline spiral that's happening, and it's all converging, and we're starting to see evidence of that. And it's really exciting because it's really proving that time doesn't really exist, and we are just points of experience in no time. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's it's really, it's palpable almost. You can feel it. It's amazing. Yeah. So
words don't do it.
Yeah. You just almost trying to visualize it. It feels like a pretzel in your mind a little. So with regards to a purging, like I talked about, and the Great Awakening, we are dissolving those outdated soul contracts in the Akash. So how will clearing old contracts in the Akash help with fertility and growing a family?
One of the things I've seen with fertility a lot is kind of stuck energy in the abdomen. So think about this. If you've got a big dense energy over your womb and you fertilize an egg and you've got 3 months to get a fetus in, if that energy is going to sit there, it's never going to get through that dense layer, So what happens, of course, after 3 months, you get a miscarriage, and then you try again, get a miscarriage, and the doctors are scanning. There's nothing wrong with it. Well, there is. There's an energetic element that they're not seeing. And so I think it's really important. We do have a meditation.
We call them more soul ties. We don't really call them contracts, because contracts really are like you were consciously aware of, making that moment or that connection with that one person or something like that. Now it's more about, gaining your sovereignty by cutting those ties that are negatively still siphoning energy off of you. And it's really, really important to cut those ties. And you have to repeatedly cut them sometimes, depending on the level of emotion surrounding the connection. So it can take multiple times of cutting a bond or a tie to someone, because once you have another emotion come up, you have to recut it again until you've reconciled and resolved those ties. Those ties just continue to tie back up again, because you're still giving it energy in a negative way. So it's a complicated process, but once you do get that cleared out, and those releases down there of the second chakra, the sacral area, it really does help bring up all the emotions necessary to be able to release that tie with particular people or others, even past life ones too. I think it's really important.
Yeah, but
I've had to work on a couple of past life ties that I needed to cut that were big
well,
ones.
if they're really big, you cut it. The good thing about cutting it is you feel more logical. You don't have that emotion around it. Then more emotion comes up, and then it grows back, and then you cut it again.
But you're getting a further out view of it.
Yeah. So you can take a step back without so much emotion, and then you can actually process it. And and let it go to the point where, you know, it's not going to grow back anymore. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest thing for, you know, if you want to
For fertility,
fertility, you need to really make sure
clearing that energy.
Clearing that energy is key, you know. And I've seen it a lot, and I've worked on people, you know, clear the womb out, the meridian structure, and then suddenly, bang, they get pregnant, which is wonderful. Bless them.
Yeah, it's happened many times. It's beautiful.
But another thing I would say as well about fertility is, and this is from a spiritual perspective, my perspective, things like endometriosis and fibroids and things like that, elements of pathogens. Low vibration allows pathogens to mutate the cells. So, for example, you know, fibroid is just a mutation. Endometriosis is the womb line swelling and separating from the womb. So again, it's important if you've got pathogens or anything like that, EBV or any, you know, to me, it's important to get that out of the body.
Clear out the pathogens too, yeah.
Yeah, and get rid of the low vibration, and then, you know, you're good to go. I mean, I had a lady who had endometriosis, couldn't have kids at all, and we worked on her for quite a number of months. And
quite a while, yeah, 9 months.
She got pregnant straight away.
Yeah, like 9-10 months.
Amazing. Such a joy when you hear that.
It is. Anything is possible. And
possible.
Piggybacking on that, in general, how important is spiritual hygiene? Like clearing yourself energetically of parasites, things like that.
Oh, gracious. It's important for everything.
Key. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And learning to differentiate between your own thought forms and that of an influence or a frequency, or because, you know, they're blasting frequencies all the time for people, and people don't realize, oh, that's not my thought. That's not even me. And so that is highly important, is discernment of your own mind. Refinement really is just really getting in there to make sure that you're not developing emotions that shouldn't even be there in the first place, because your thought, that wasn't even your own thought. It wasn't even coming from you. And yeah, that's super important. Attachments and other energies and frequencies.
Attachments are key as well, because things like Anunnaki and draconian beings, you know.
Snake beings get down there too in the lower.
Yeah, snake beings get in the breast sometimes, and block the meridian again.
And in the hips.
Low vibration, mutation of cells, and, you know, turns into tumors. But if you've got a big old entity, they tend to sit in the abdomen. So they're going to drop the vibration of the abdomen. So you really need to clear yourself of entities. Now, a lot of people, you know, I think most people believe in negative entities, but, you know, you've got to clear them. And to me, you've got to get your vibration and release emotion so that your energy field is so high, they can't get near you. And we do have a prayer book, you know, if you want one, once you've removed the entity, you need to keep it out by saying, it's called yourself. 27 Esoteric Merkaba field prayer. It puts a field around you so they can't get in. And that's important while people do the healing.
That's a Merkaba. So everybody knows you have it's basically your soul vehicle that just stays around you and protects you. But you can bolster that up with vibration and really keep those other energies out. Yeah.
Yeah, that is huge. And I think we think about personal hygiene, grooming, things like that, and we do that on a physical level, but that
not a spiritual level. Yeah.
So important. It's just as important, if not more important.
Oh, I would say more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
We're not here that long on the planet. You know?
Absolutely. So with regards to the divine ceremony, it's coming up. It's September 30th. And
next Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And please explain to the audience what that is, basically, from, you know, a YouTube perspective, and how it helps with our ascension.
Okay, this is a labor of love from my heart and my soul, and with the help of Christopher, of course. It is vital that I feel, as a human species, for us to state what we want and what kind of world we want to see, and also to call out the evils in the world, but also to call those evils out and surrender them to God, to Source, for assistance. I mean, all we have to do is ask. All we have to do is ask to clear this world, to rid this world. We have to claim what we want and claim our sovereignty at the same time. And so it's just a vital exercise to, I feel, claim your sovereignty. You have to call out the darkness, and you have to go into the dark to switch on lights and to illuminate it so that we can clear it. And I think it's really important that we do that and acknowledge it. And again, call in source and allow God to take that energy and transmute it or move it off the planet or whatever needs to happen for our evolution as a species. It's just so important. And it's just it's a pretty regimented
powerful exercise.
Ritual prayer, manifestation, map of intent, that lists off the beings that need to be held accountable. And
bring them before God and release them to God with unconditional love and forgiveness. Then there's no karma. Let God deal with them,
And then ending
that's really important.
Ending it with claiming sovereignty, and that we only want the natural, organic evolution of this earth to happen, not the AI infiltration, not any of that kind of timeline. This is what we want. We want just the natural, organic. Just leave us alone and allow us to evolve as a species, please. Can't we just be left alone?
There's another point about it, actually, which is really interesting, is people have felt very powerless. Well, what can I do?
So powerless.
I don't have any money. I'm struggling.
It helps you feel like you're doing something about what's happening on the planet.
I mean, your power is God. If God's got your back and, you surrendered and know God's going to do it, you can step forward with this big warrior, and say, yeah, let's do it. You get that passion in it way stronger than any bank's money or nonsense. It's just, I personally think we're warriors just by doing it.
We are, and it makes you feel you're a warrior. It makes you feel like you're sending out something that's actually going to shift the energy. And just by doing it, especially as a collective, when you do it, so all these people together doing it at the same time is really powerful. I love it. Hopefully that explains things.
Yeah, that was perfect. Yeah, and I think it's been 2 years since I've tried.
We've been doing it, yeah.
Every single one of them. They've been powerful, and you can feel a good shift after. So personally, I have been able to.
Good.
Christopher and Mandy's services, they can be found on globalenlightenmentproject.com. I'm going to add all of the links below this description. And on social media, you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, YouTube, Rumble, Truth Social. I feel like I'm missing maybe one, but
I think that's it.
Instagram.
Yeah, she said it.
Oh, you said it. Yeah, we're on most of them, I think.
Yeah, that's perfect. And it's Global Enlightenment Project. You basically have to search for that, and they're all on that handle pretty much. So Christopher and Mandy, they have books, meditations, prayers, the gemstones that Merkaba everyone saw just now. And
I need to get more.
Group and individual healing sessions on the website. So it's globalenlightenmentproject.com. Links will be in the description. Christopher and Mandy's donation-based general healing sessions they're on YouTube and soon to be on Rumble. So Thursdays at 5 p.m. Central and Saturdays at 11 a.m. Central. Also monthly sacred space sharing via Zoom, and that's a small donation as well with Mandy and Christopher. Is there anything else you want to add to that? I feel like I missed something.
Well, I would say the monthly clearings are really helpful. Speaking about how you keep your spiritual clean, so the monthly clearing is really helpful, and it's every single day you get cleared of any entities, or you get 9 heart chakra releases, you get a detox of the body. It's a really powerful thing. I think that is one of our favorite, most wonderful tools, is just getting on the list for the monthly clearing.
Because every day, 6 p.m.
It gives you that support, that spiritual support, and you feel supported. You feel like, I'm still clear. I'm not getting influenced by other things, and people have really reported that they love it. So that's one thing we adore. That's probably one of our favorite things.
Yeah, it's great. 6 p.m. every night. And you don't have to be present for it. It happens anyway. So I think it's helped a lot of people get over this transition, because it's not been easy, traveling through this.
Yeah, I mean, some people have to do a protection prayer every 5 minutes because they're getting so, attacked, and it's just really important to, it helps just to know that you've got something as a backup, clearing you every single day. So it's a really great thing.
Absolutely wonderful. So we are actually now going to move this conversation to Rumble because I have some deeper questions that I want to address, and I want to address the pink elephant in the room, stillbirth, miscarriage, and a lot of things that are happening on the planet right now. And Unfortunately, we can't have that conversation on this particular channel, so we're going to Rumble. So I will have a description, a link in the description for that particular episode. So please, if you feel called, to follow us there. And thank you. I will stop the recording now.